The alien empire had been the undisputed force in the galaxy for centuries. Their soldiers were bred for war, engineered to be invincible in combat. The species that had once inhabited their homeworld were mere memories, replaced by perfect killing machines who were designed to conquer and subdue. No species, no matter how advanced, could stand in their way. Their technology, their power, and their training were unparalleled. Across countless star systems, their name was whispered in fear. Entire civilizations had been wiped from the face of the galaxy, their worlds reduced to ash, their inhabitants eradicated without mercy. The Empire's military was built on a foundation of ruthless efficiency. Its elite soldiers were genetically enhanced to be faster, stronger, and smarter than any adversary. They operated with surgical precision, executing complex strategies with ease. Their weaponry was advanced beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen, from energy-based rifles to shields that could absorb the most powerful of blasts. Their armor, made from materials unknown to any other species, was nigh invulnerable. Their enemies, even with the most advanced weaponry and tactics, had been crushed under the weight of their military might. For the alien soldiers, war was not just a way of life, it was their purpose. They fought because it was their nature, because they had been designed to do so. They had no other goals, no other desires. They had been bred to conquer, to bring order to the galaxy under their rule. Every victory added to their legend, and their fearsome reputation spread like wildfire across the stars. It was said that no one could stand against them, and for millennia, that had been the truth. The human race, a fledgling species barely beginning to make its mark on the galactic stage, had been of little concern. They had fought wars among themselves, but their reach was limited. They had not yet ventured far enough into the galaxy to be noticed by the alien empire. Even when humans made contact with a few neighboring species, it was seen as little more than a curiosity. Their technologies were primitive compared to the alien empires, their armies small and ill-trained. They were viewed as insignificant. But when the aliens' expansion came to Earth, the humans fought back in ways no one expected. The first clash between the alien invaders and human forces took place in a small, rural region of the planet. The aliens descended from the skies, their ships overwhelming in size and firepower. They unleashed their full arsenal on the defenseless world, and humanity's first response was a brutal, ill-fated defense. The human soldiers, equipped with basic firearms and outdated vehicles, were no match for the alien onslaught. They fought fiercely, but they were slaughtered. Entire battalions fell before the alien invaders with barely a scratch on their enemies. It was a massacre, a display of the alien empire's sheer might. The humans had no hope of winning, they were outmatched in every way. The aliens did not even break a sweat. After the initial battle, the invaders took control of Earth's major cities, and their soldiers rampaged across the globe. The human resistance fought, but they were nothing more than an irritant to the alien empire. Their struggles were in vain. But the humans, unlike any other species the aliens had encountered, would not be easily defeated. The humans, in the aftermath of their defeat, began to regroup. They did not possess the technology or the numbers to confront the aliens directly, but they had something far more valuable: a will to survive. They had an innate ability to adapt, to learn, and to innovate. This resilience had been key to humanity's survival throughout history. It was something the alien empire had overlooked, a quality they had never encountered before. In the shadows, a select group of humans began training in secret. These men and women were chosen for their extraordinary skills in marksmanship, stealth, and tactical thinking. They were the best of the best, individuals who had honed their abilities on Earth's battlefields, not in the controlled environments of the alien empire's training camps. They were not soldiers in the traditional sense. They were hunters, tacticians, and warriors whose weapons were their wits and their aim. The alien soldiers, arrogant in their superiority, dismissed these humans as a minor nuisance, an inconvenience to be eradicated when the time came. They were not concerned by the possibility of a few marksmen causing trouble. After all, their genetic superiority and advanced technology were all they needed to crush any enemy. They had never faced a threat like this, but they did not believe one existed. They were convinced that nothing could challenge their reign. However, the first encounter with these marksmen would be a rude awakening. As the aliens began their next push deeper into human territory, they found themselves facing something they had not prepared for. The humans, hidden in the shadows of the battlefield, struck with precision and efficiency. The marksmen picked off alien soldiers one by one, their shots ringing out from impossible distances, finding the smallest gaps in the alien armor. These marksmen did not engage in open combat. They did not need to. They remained unseen, moving silently through the terrain, picking their targets with surgical precision. At first, the alien soldiers were confused. Their sensors could detect nothing, their advanced tracking systems showed no sign of movement. But the bodies of their comrades began to pile up. The marksmen's shots were precise, deadly, and timed to perfection. Each bullet struck its mark with such accuracy that the aliens were left unable to react in time. It was as if the humans could anticipate their every move, predict their every step. The alien soldiers, trained for direct combat, could not fathom how they were being outsmarted. Their technology, their tactics, their brute strength, none of it was enough to stop the human marksmen. The first major loss was a crushing blow to the alien empire. Their elite soldiers, once thought invincible, had been outwitted and outgunned by a race they had considered inferior. The alien commanders scrambled to understand what had gone wrong. How could they, the greatest warriors in the galaxy, have been defeated by such a primitive species? The more they tried to counter the human marksmen, the more they realized they were dealing with something completely unexpected, something they had no knowledge of or experience with. The humans, in contrast, reveled in their newfound advantage. They understood the power of surprise, of being underestimated. It was a psychological game as much as it was a physical one. The alien soldiers, once unshakable in their belief of superiority, began to falter. Doubt crept into their ranks. How long could they maintain their confidence when faced with an enemy that could pick them off without ever showing themselves? The alien empire had been built on fear, but now, for the first time, they were the ones afraid. Fear of an enemy they could not understand, fear of an enemy who fought not with brute force, but with ingenuity, stealth, and skill. This was just the beginning. The aliens had underestimated the humans, and now they were paying the price. What they didn't know was that humanity's marksmen were only getting started. The human marksmen were unlike any force the galaxy had ever encountered. Trained in the harshest environments on Earth, these individuals possessed an uncanny ability to adapt and overcome. Their skills were honed through years of preparation, their minds sharpened by the realities of combat. They did not rely on advanced technology or overwhelming numbers. Instead, they relied on their senses, their instincts, and their ability to outthink and outmaneuver their enemies. The human marksmen understood the importance of patience, of precision, and of knowing when to strike. These men and women had been selected for their extraordinary talent, and their training had pushed them to the limits of human potential. They were experts in every form of ranged combat, from traditional firearms to more unconventional weapons. They were skilled in using the terrain to their advantage, in finding natural cover and exploiting the slightest weaknesses in their enemies. Their ability to remain unseen, to disappear into the landscape, made them nearly impossible to detect. They knew how to use silence as a weapon, how to blend into their surroundings so seamlessly that even the most advanced alien detection systems couldn't track them. For the marksmen, the key was to strike quickly and decisively, then vanish before the enemy could retaliate. They were not interested in engaging in prolonged battles or open warfare. They understood that the true power of their skill lay in their ability to disrupt and disorient their enemies, to create chaos without ever revealing their presence. This made them especially dangerous to the alien soldiers, who were trained to engage in direct, overwhelming combat. The alien forces relied on their technology and superior strength, but the humans had something they could never replicate: the human mind, capable of thinking in ways the aliens could not predict. The first encounters between the human marksmen and the alien soldiers were a revelation to the invaders. The aliens had expected to easily crush any resistance they faced. After all, they had never encountered an enemy that could match their superior strength and advanced weaponry. But the marksmen were not like the soldiers they had fought before. They did not stand in open defiance, ready to meet the alien soldiers head-on. Instead, they struck from the shadows, picking off their targets with unerring accuracy. Each shot was a message. The humans were not to be underestimated. The aliens initially tried to counter the marksmen's tactics by increasing their patrols and employing more advanced tracking systems. They relied on their superior technology to try and detect the humans before they could strike. They set up drones, sensors, and enhanced scanning equipment, hoping to catch a glimpse of the elusive marksman before it was too late. However, these measures proved ineffective. The marksmen knew how to avoid detection, how to move silently through the terrain, and how to stay one step ahead of the alien forces. No matter how much the aliens improved their technology, they were still outmatched by the humans' cunning. The marksmen understood that the key to success was to maintain the element of surprise. If the aliens ever figured out their methods, if they ever learned to anticipate their movements, the marksmen would lose their advantage. So, they continually adapted, changing their tactics and positions, ensuring that the aliens never caught on to their methods. They exploited every weakness, no matter how small. They targeted isolated squads, taking down the most vulnerable members first. They never fought fair, because they knew that in war, there was no room for fairness. The goal was to win, and the marksmen were willing to do whatever it took. One of the most powerful tactics the marksmen employed was their ability to disrupt the aliens' communication. The alien soldiers relied heavily on their network of command and control to coordinate their attacks. The marksmen, however, were experts at jamming and intercepting these communications, sowing confusion and chaos among the ranks. When the alien soldiers no longer had a clear understanding of their positions or objectives, they became disorganized and vulnerable. It wasn't just the physical damage the marksmen caused, it was the psychological toll they took on the alien soldiers. Fear spread like wildfire, as the invincible soldiers realized they could be picked off without warning. Their confidence began to crack. The first major battle where the marksmen made their presence known was a turning point in the war. The aliens had launched an offensive to take a key strategic position, confident that their overwhelming force would quickly subdue any human resistance. What they did not anticipate was the coordinated assault by the human marksmen, who had been waiting for this very moment. As the alien forces advanced, they were hit from all sides, their soldiers falling one by one, never knowing where the shots were coming from. The humans used every advantage they had: terrain, concealment, and their knowledge of the enemy's tactics. The battle ended in a crushing defeat for the aliens, who had lost many of their elite soldiers without even seeing their attackers. This battle marked the beginning of a shift in the war. The alien empire, once so certain of its victory, now found itself facing a new kind of threat, one it had never prepared for. The alien soldiers, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies with brute force, were now being outwitted by an enemy that fought on their own terms. The fear that had once been instilled in the galaxy by the alien empire was now being replaced by a new fear, the fear of the unseen human marksman, who could strike from anywhere, at any time, without warning. The aliens' reaction to this new threat was one of disbelief. Their leadership, once so confident in their military supremacy, was now scrambling to understand what had gone wrong. They had underestimated humanity, thinking them no more than primitive creatures unworthy of attention. But now, the humans had proved them wrong. The aliens began to realize that their technological superiority was no longer enough to guarantee victory. Their soldiers, despite their genetic enhancements, were no match for the ingenuity and skill of the human marksmen. Faced with this new and unexpected challenge, the alien empire sought to adapt. They began to modify their strategies, calling in reinforcements and implementing new technologies to track the humans. But each attempt to counter the marksmen's tactics only resulted in further losses. The human marksmen had a simple but effective rule: stay unpredictable. They never repeated the same tactics twice, always staying one step ahead of their enemies. The more the aliens tried to adapt, the more the humans adapted in return. This game of cat and mouse continued, with the humans pushing back the alien forces inch by inch. The marksmen's precision and patience wore down the aliens' resolve. What had once seemed like an invincible empire was now beginning to falter, its soldiers questioning their superiority. The marksmen, though few in number, were proving that ingenuity and skill could overcome even the greatest of technological advantages. The war had changed, and the alien soldiers knew it. They were no longer the apex predators of the galaxy. The human marksmen had shown them that, even in the face of overwhelming odds, victory could be achieved by those willing to fight with everything they had. The alien soldiers, once the most feared warriors in the galaxy, began to question their place in the cosmos. Their entire existence had been defined by their unmatched strength and technology. But now, they were losing battles to an enemy they had initially dismissed as insignificant. The marksmen, humans they had once considered primitives, were tearing through their ranks with precision and skill that the aliens couldn't understand or counter. Their advanced tracking systems, their superior weaponry, and their brute strength, all seemed meaningless in the face of this new, unpredictable enemy. The soldiers who had once been the pinnacle of military might now found themselves on the defensive. The psychological toll on the alien soldiers was immense. They were bred for combat, trained to fight and win, but nothing in their training had prepared them for this. They had been taught to fight in formations, to rely on their superior numbers and firepower to crush their foes. But against the human marksmen, their tactics were useless. The marksmen operated on a level that was beyond their comprehension. They did not engage in direct combat. Instead, they struck from the shadows, picking off targets one by one, systematically dismantling the alien forces. There was no honor, no glory, no chance for the aliens to fight back. Their enemies never came face to face with them, never gave them the opportunity to show their strength. This was a war of attrition, and the aliens were losing it. The alien leadership, who had once been confident in their dominance, were now frantic. They ordered a change in tactics, sending more heavily armored squads and deploying experimental technologies in an attempt to find a solution to the human marksmen. But with each new attempt, they were met with the same result. The humans were always one step ahead, always ready to exploit the smallest weaknesses in their plans. The alien soldiers, despite their enhancements, could not adapt as quickly as the humans did. Their pride, once their greatest asset, was now their greatest weakness. They could not accept the reality. They had been outsmarted. Amidst the chaos, the human marksmen were preparing for their most ambitious strike yet. The war had become a battle of wits, and the humans had proven themselves capable of outthinking their opponents at every turn. The alien empire's hold on the galaxy had been slipping, and the humans had no intention of letting it go. The marksmen had learned the alien soldiers' patterns, their strengths and weaknesses, and they used this knowledge to set traps that would cripple the alien forces even further. The aliens, growing increasingly paranoid, began to distrust their own commanders. The unity of the alien military, once its greatest strength, was now starting to unravel. Soldiers who had been bred to follow orders without question began to question the leadership that had led them into this unexpected conflict. The tension within the alien ranks grew, as rumors spread that the once invincible soldiers were not so invincible after all. The fear of the human marksmen began to spread like a virus, infecting the minds of even the most hardened warriors. The marksmen were not just a physical threat, they were a psychological one. Each death they caused was not just a loss in battle, it was a blow to the alien soldiers' sense of superiority, their belief in their own invincibility. Fear is a powerful weapon, and the marksmen had learned how to wield it. As the alien soldiers became more disoriented, the humans pressed their advantage. The marksmen, who had already been striking from a distance, now began to infiltrate the alien ranks. They didn't just shoot from afar, they moved in closer, sabotaging supply lines, cutting off communications, and disrupting the alien forces in ways the aliens had never anticipated. The humans were not fighting a traditional war, they were waging a war of disruption, and they were winning. The alien empire, once proud and unchallenged, was now forced to react. Every time they tried to regroup, the humans struck again, causing even more chaos. The alien soldiers were no longer able to rely on their usual methods of warfare. They had been forced into a defensive position, struggling to hold on to territory that was quickly slipping out of their grasp. Internal fractures began to appear within the alien leadership. The commanders, once confident in their ability to crush any enemy, were now scrambling to maintain control of their forces. They were no longer fighting a battle for territory or resources. They were fighting for their survival. Their leadership had been undermined, and with it, their ability to make strategic decisions. The alien soldiers, confused and demoralized, began to fall apart. The once unified military machine that had swept through the galaxy was now splintering, its soldiers unable to trust their commanders or their own instincts. The alien forces, so used to overwhelming any opposition, were now finding themselves overwhelmed by an enemy they had no understanding of. The human marksmen, once thought insignificant, had shown them the true meaning of fear. The fear among the alien soldiers was not just a fear of death, it was a fear of the unknown. They had no idea who or what they were fighting against. The marksmen did not fight with the traditional methods of war. They did not use overwhelming firepower or advanced technology. Instead, they fought with strategy, with ingenuity, and with patience. They knew how to exploit the smallest of openings and turn the tide of battle in their favor. And most importantly, they knew how to keep their enemies off balance. The human marksmen were unpredictable. No alien could ever know where the next shot would come from or when it would hit. This uncertainty, this inability to plan or react, was the source of the greatest fear the aliens had ever known. The psychological warfare waged by the human marksmen was more devastating than any physical attack. The alien soldiers, once proud and unyielding, now found themselves paralyzed by doubt. They began to question everything they had ever known about war, about combat, and about themselves. The marksmen had turned the alien empire's greatest strength, their pride, into their greatest weakness. As the fear spread, so did the sense of chaos and confusion. The alien soldiers had been bred to fight in a world of order and control, but now they found themselves in a world where nothing made sense. And in that world they were losing. The humans, however, were not just fighting to survive, they were fighting to win. With every victory, they chipped away at the alien empire's power. The marksmen's strikes were swift and precise, and each success piled onto the alien empire's growing frustration and defeat. What had once seemed like an impossible war was now a war that the humans were winning. The aliens, unable to adapt quickly enough, found themselves losing territory, losing soldiers, and losing hope. The tide of the war had turned, and the alien soldiers could no longer deny it. They had met their match, and it was a force they could not comprehend or defeat. The human marksmen had proven themselves not only capable of surviving against impossible odds, but also of changing the course of a war, one precise shot at a time. The alien empire, once an unstoppable force that dominated the galaxy, now found itself teetering on the edge of collapse. The human marksmen, with their seemingly endless ingenuity and determination, had broken through the alien defenses in ways that were inconceivable just a few months prior. What had begun as a battle of technology and strength was now a struggle of minds, with the humans outwitting the aliens at every turn. The alien soldiers, who had once feared nothing, were now filled with doubt. Their pride had been shattered, and their unity was crumbling. The once legendary military force now faced a bitter truth: they were no longer invincible. As the human marksmen continued their campaign, their strikes grew bolder, more daring. No longer satisfied with just small victories, they targeted key installations, vital command centers, and high-ranking officials within the alien empire. The alien forces, once so meticulous in their strategies, now found themselves scrambling to maintain order. Their forces were spread thin, their commanders unable to make coordinated decisions in the face of constant disruption. The alien soldiers could no longer trust their technology, or their leaders. The once feared alien empire was unraveling, and no one was certain how much longer it could hold on. The collapse of the alien empire didn't happen overnight, but it was inevitable. The marksmen, relentless in their pursuit of victory, continued to dismantle the alien war machine piece by piece. The alien soldiers, who had been bred for combat, had no answer to the human strategy. The technology that had once made the alien soldiers so powerful was now useless in the face of human tactics. The aliens could no longer fight a war of attrition, Their superiority in numbers and firepower no longer mattered when they couldn't predict where the next strike would come from. The human marksmen had forced the aliens into a state of constant vulnerability, and it was a vulnerability that would ultimately lead to their downfall. The final blow to the alien empire came in the form of a decisive battle. It was a battle that the aliens had not anticipated, one where they thought they could finally regain control. But the marksmen had outthought them once again. The alien forces had concentrated their power in a single location, believing it to be a safe stronghold, an impenetrable fortress. But the marksmen knew better. They had already infiltrated the area, had already set the trap. As the alien forces made their move, the marksmen struck with deadly precision, cutting down key officers, sabotaging their weapons, and crippling the alien defenses. The aliens, once so confident in their superiority, were caught off guard and overwhelmed. The stronghold fell in a matter of hours, and with it, the alien empire's last hope of recovery. With the fall of their military command, the alien forces were left in disarray. The leadership, now in complete chaos, had no plan to salvage their empire. The soldiers, leaderless and demoralized, began to abandon their posts. There was no reason to fight anymore. The empire that had once commanded the stars had crumbled from within, torn apart by the very humans they had sought to conquer. The alien empire's last remnants were scattered, and its once proud military was left a shadow of its former self. The human victory was not just a military triumph, it was a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of humanity. The marksmen, outnumbered and outgunned, had turned the tide of war with nothing more than their skill, their intelligence, and their unwavering will to survive. The aliens, once so certain of their superiority, had been undone by the humans' ability to think, to adapt, and to fight smarter, not harder. The battle for the galaxy had been won not through overwhelming force, but through sheer willpower and tactical brilliance. As the dust settled, the humans took stock of their victory. They had not just survived, they had proven that even the most powerful empire in the galaxy could be brought to its knees. The humans, who had once been considered weak and insignificant, had shown the galaxy what they were truly capable of. Their victory sent a message to every other species: humanity was not to be underestimated. The marksmen, though celebrated as heroes, remained humble, knowing that their success was the result of collective effort, of training, of ingenuity, and of the unyielding spirit that had defined humanity for millennia. The alien empire, in its final moments, realized too late that they had underestimated the human race. They had believed that their technology and strength would be enough to conquer any species they encountered. But the humans had shown them that there was more to warfare than just technology. There was strategy, unpredictability, and the ability to outthink and outmaneuver the enemy. The alien empire had fallen because they had failed to understand the true nature of their enemies. In the end, it was not their superior weapons or genetic enhancements that mattered, it was their inability to adapt to a threat they could not comprehend. The humans, having emerged victorious, now stood at the forefront of a new era. The galaxy, once dominated by the alien empire, was now in the hands of a new force, one that was unafraid to challenge the status quo, unafraid to take on even the greatest powers. The marksmen, though victorious, knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and many challenges still lay ahead. But one thing was certain: humanity had proven that it was a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy would never forget the day the human marksmen had brought down the empire that had once ruled them all. The legacy of their victory would endure, a reminder to all that even the most powerful forces could be undone by the quiet, calculating precision of a human mind. The marksmen had proven that humans were not just survivors, they were conquerors in their own right, capable of shaping the future of the galaxy in ways the alien empire had never imagined. As the dust settled and the galaxy looked toward the future, humanity's place at the top of the galactic order had been secured. And the fear that had once been reserved for the alien soldiers now belonged to humanity, as the marksman's name became synonymous with victory and strength.